In this chaotic world filled with noise and negativity, it's time to wake up and realize the toxicity that surrounds us and often creeps into our lives through the people we allow into our inner circles. Society has conditioned us to accept disrespect, manipulation, and emotional drain under the guise of being nice or keeping the peace. But the truth is, letting toxic individuals linger in your life is like drinking a slow poison that erodes your well-being, ambition, and sense of self-worth. It's time to reclaim your power and start cutting these leeches out, once and for all. This isn't about playing games or being petty. It's about valuing yourself enough to remove what doesn't serve your highest good. If you're ready to hold the ancient wisdom of Stoicism and become the master of your destiny, then keep watching, for you'll, at the end, know why you should start cutting toxic people out of your life. 1. They drain your energy while contributing nothing. A toxic person is like a black hole, constantly sucking the joy and motivation out of those around them. You may find yourself walking on eggshells, censoring your words, and suppressing your authentic self just to keep them placated. But why should you compromise who you are for someone who gives nothing positive in return? High-value individuals understand that their energy is a precious resource that must be guarded. While the energy vampires whine about their endless drama, you could be pursuing your deepest passions, growing as a person, and surrounding yourself with those who inspire you to level up. Toxic people are masters at making their issues your problem, but you don't have to accept that emotional burden. At the end of the day, their crises, tantrums, and martyr complexes do nothing to elevate your life. The ancient Stoics taught that we become what we surround ourselves with. Do you want to be consumed by relentless negativity and criticism? Or do you want to cultivate a positive mindset and continually progress towards your greatest potential? Start valuing your time, energy, and focus like the valuable resources they are. Eliminate the dead weight. 2. They manipulate you with guilt and obligation. Toxic individuals are masters at emotional manipulation, using your good nature against you to serve their own selfish ends. They'll heap on the guilt trips about being a bad friend or child partner if you don't cater to their every whim. They'll play the victim, act pathetic, or have a handy exit crisis that hooks you back in out of pity. But reacting to these manipulations only reinforces the power they hold over you. High-value, self-respecting people do not allow themselves to be jerked around by puppet strings of guilt, obligation, or duty. They set clear boundaries about what they will and won't accept, because they understand their time, and presence is a gift, not an entitlement to be exploited. Don't fall for the toxic person's pony act. Deep down, they aren't looking for solutions. They're looking for emotional hostages to control and dominate. Let them take responsibility for their own life, while you focus on yours. Be ruthless about removing these manipulative leeches. 3. They project their misery and insecurities. The reason toxic people are so relentlessly negative is because they're utterly miserable on the inside. Rather than address their own shortcomings, they project their self-loathing onto those around them through put-downs, dismissiveness, and unsolicited criticism. It's much easier to tear others down than to actually improve themselves. While you're out chasing your ambitions and bettering yourself daily, they derive ego from mocking and undermining your efforts. Why? Because seeing you grow and level up shines a painful light on their own stagnation and cowardice. Miserable souls obsess over bringing others down to their level. Don't tolerate this insecurity-projecting behavior, no matter who it comes from. Love them from a distance if needed, but protect your positive mindset at all costs. Success is derived from self-belief. Allowing toxic projections will sabotage yours. As the ancient philosophers taught, only look to the conseil of those you wish to emulate. 4. They perpetuate a scarcity mindset. The difference between a high-value, empowered person and a toxic individual often comes down to their mindset around abundance versus scarcity. The former sees the world as full of limitless possibilities and focuses on what they can create, while the latter is preoccupied with what they lack, who has more than them, and what they can take from others. Because of this scarcity mentality, toxic people can't genuinely celebrate the wins, relationships, or achievements of those around them. They're so consumed by their own feelings of lack and entitlement that your blessings activate feelings of resentment. It's not enough for you to fail. Your success makes them feel inadequate by comparison. Don't let these crabs pull you back into their tiny bucket existence. Your potential has no limits, but it does require separating from the scarcity consumed. The ancient philosophy of Stoicism reminds us that nothing external can disturb our inner peace unless we allow it. Keep ascending, keep growing, and leave the scarcity dimwits behind. 5. They deflect their own accountability. The ability to take radical responsibility for your life situation is a trademark of the virtuous, high-value individual. If something isn't going well, they ask, "What could I have done better?" and course correct. Toxic people, on the other hand, are allergic to any form of accountability. Nothing is ever their fault. They were the victim, the one who was wronged, and they'll work tirelessly to convince others of it. You could hand them a roadmap to improving their circumstances, and they'll bat it away in favor of telling another dramatic tale of woe-is-me hardship. Why? Because accepting ownership of their struggles would mean having to take change, and change is scary for the weak-minded. Don't fall for the pity ploys or obliging their deflection games. You cannot help someone who refuses to look inward and take responsibility. If they choose to remain in arrested development, wish them well, but keep your distance. Your circle should only elevate and never tolerate deflection. 6. They are perpetually ungrateful. No matter how often you offer your service, encouragement, or generosity, a toxic person will rarely feel truly appreciative or satisfied. That's because their insatiable need for ego validation, combined with entitlement mentality, makes them perpetually ungrateful. When you finally put your foot down and stop the free-for-all, they'll make you the villain. Gratitude is a rare trait among the toxic, because feeling indebted is their worst nightmare. To accept a gift with humility and thanks would mean having to grant you some respect and status above them, an inconceivable reality in their narcissistic bubble. The ancient Stoics remind us that our attachment to praise and gratification is often what causes our suffering. Do not seek external validation for doing the right thing. Your conviction and virtue should be their own reward. 7. Their problems always outweigh yours. Just when you think the emotional roller coaster is finally settling down, the toxic person will pull out their trump card, recounting a heavily embellished tale of childhood trauma, betrayal, physical, mental anguish, or victimization that instantly paints your own grievances as trivial. Make no mistake, these aren't genuine expressions of vulnerability meant to foster intimacy and mutual understanding. They're power plays meant to induce guilt and reaffirm their status as the perma-victim of life's cruelties. No matter how legitimate your own hardships may be, theirs will always require more overt care and prioritization. Wise individuals understand that comparing sources of pain is useless and small-minded. They validate themselves first before making space to authentically show up for others. Refusing to engage in toxic oppression Olympics doesn't make you uncaring, it makes you self-actualized. 8. They never change, no matter how much you try. The biggest folly is believing that if you just love, nurture, support the toxic person enough, they'll somehow have an awakening and transform into a positive light. This belief is what allows so many people to remain trapped for years in high-conflict situations and dysfunctional dynamics, foolishly convincing themselves, but they have a good heart deep down. The painful truth? People can only change if they first have a radical internal desire to do so, and toxic persons are invested in remaining the same. Their constant craving for external validation and perpetual victimhood ensures they'll keep recreating the same self-destructive cycles over and over. You could spend decades trying to wake them up, and they'd remain stubbornly unconscious. The ancient Stoics taught that you cannot control the behaviors of others, only how you respond to them. As painful as it is to accept, some people are committed to their negative patterns no matter what you do. The wise response is to wish them well from a distance, but stop allowing their stagnancy to become your own. 9. They love drama and chaos. For many toxic individuals, drama and chaos is like an addictive drug they can't get enough of. Why? Because it allows them to stay locked in the self-perpetuating cycle of victimhood that constantly puts them at the center of attention. High-value people understand that continually participating in discords and unrest is a colossal waste of their time and energy. While the toxic person is screaming into the social media void about their latest traumatic injustice, you could be doubling down on your goals, personal growth, and inner peace. Constantly being triggered is the antithesis of the philosophical, reasonable mindset the Stoics embodied. Don't allow yourself to get sucked into their whirlwind of emotional chaos. 10. They deplete your self-belief. At their core, toxic people are insecure beings who derive an ego boost from sabotaging the efforts and self-confidence of others. Witnessing you stay committed to your purpose, maintain boundaries, and not tolerate their nonsense threatens the delusion they've created about themselves being strong or real. So, they'll mock your dreams as unrealistic, undermine your discipline as obsessive, and criticize your new lifestyle changes as not being yourself anymore, all in an effort to deplete your self-belief and sense of conviction over time. Don't tolerate even the slightest tinge of this toxic vapor. It must be eliminated with extreme prejudice. 11. They create unhealthy attachments. Toxic people are known to use intimacy, extreme openness, and emotional vulnerability as a way to rapidly accelerate intimacy and create unhealthy attachments or dependence. This is often a form of future manipulation where they can later point to "everything I've confided in you" as a way to make you feel obligated to stay in their orbit. The wise and virtuous understand that genuine closeness should develop slowly over time through shared values and vulnerability. Anything forced or rushed is a red flag. Be vigilant about maintaining strong boundaries with new connections until their full character and motivations are vetted. 12. They are dream killers. One of the most insidious forms of toxicity is when someone relentlessly projects their own fears, limiting beliefs, and cynical worldview onto you in an effort to discourage your ambitions. These dream killers operate from a place of intense scarcity, wanting to bring you back into their confined, small-minded existence. Perhaps it's a parent who says, "Don't get your hopes up too high about that career path. Not everyone can make it." Or the friend who warns, "You'll never find someone who accepts all of you." Whatever their relation, the message is always flavored with fear and doubt, subtly eroding your self-belief over time. High-value individuals are impervious to this poisonous rhetoric. They understand that limiting beliefs were meant to be obliterated, not surrendered to. Let the parochial dream killers spin in their cyclones of cynicism while you ascend to cultivate your greatest potential. 13. They prioritize ego over growth. Ultimately, what separates a toxic individual from an empowered one often comes down to their attachment to preserving ego over undergoing growth. When the toxic person receives feedback that triggers their insecurities or makes them question aspects of themselves, their first instinct is defensiveness, denial, and doubling down on their established identity, regardless of how flawed or unproductive it may be. The high-conscious individual, however, is far less attached to how they're perceived. Their priority is truth and continual evolution, even if it requires shedding antiquated parts of themselves along the journey. Where toxicity digs its heels in, wisdom and growth remain flexible and open to expansion. Following these Stoic virtues of self-control and self-discipline requires having the courage to continually re-examine your beliefs, motivations, and blind spots. Are you misleading yourself in favor of ego preservation? Or are you willing to comprise the discomfort of change in service of your highest truth? If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.